Hey, thanks for being here. There's something sacred about making space to create, to slow down, to remember, to let God meet you in the process. That's what this is, a place where we are reminded that we are kept, held by a Father who knows us, sees us, and chose us before the foundation of the world. This week, I want to talk about Genesis 3, not as ancient history, as a pattern we keep repeating and don't have to. So let's sit with that together. In the beginning, God made everything. 6 days, light, sky, land, sea, sun, moon, stars, creatures, plants, fruit. And on day 6, he made something different, something that bore his image, male and female created in his likeness, and immediately given something remarkable. Genesis 1:26 reads, "Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all earth." Dominion, authority, stewardship over everything that came before them. The garden was made for man, not man for the garden. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Everything God built in those 6 days was, in a very real sense, handed over, put under human authority, entrusted to the ones he made in his image. That's what they had. That's what was in their hands. And then an outsider showed up with other ideas. Genesis 3 doesn't introduce the serpent as powerful. It introduces him as crafty. The strategy was never force, it was deception, a question designed to introduce doubt about what God actually said, a suggestion that what they had wasn't enough, that what they were told was incomplete, that the fruit they already had dominion over was somehow being withheld from them rather than entrusted to them. And it worked. Not because they were weak, but because they weren't paying attention. Paul references this same moment in 2 Corinthians 11 verse 3, and I want you to hear how he frames it. He says, "I fear lest somehow, as the serpent deceived Eve by his craftiness, so your minds may be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ." The simplicity that is in Christ. That's what they were beguiled from, not from a complex theological position, from something simple, clear, and already given. And Paul's warning to the Corinthians and to us is that the tactics haven't changed. The enemy is not more sophisticated than he was in the garden. He is running the same play, the same question, the same suggestion that what you have in Christ is somehow less than what you think, that the fruit isn't really yours, that the authority isn't real, that you are less than what God said. And if you remain passive, if you stay nominal, comfortable, doing the bare minimum, content to make it to heaven and call that enough, you are handing your fruit over, not by force, by neglect. Look at what's taking shape here. 2 hands, one holding fruit up, out of reach of the other, and the second hand reaching, straining, with a snake coiled around it, going for the same fruit. This is Genesis 3 on the page, and the question it's asking is the same one I want to ask you today. whose hand are you? Because here is what I want to be clear about. The enemy doesn't produce fruit. He never has. He cannot create. He can only corrupt and counterfeit and steal what was never his. Everything he pursues was given to someone else. Everything he goes after was first entrusted to a son or a daughter of God, who either didn't know what they had or knew and did not think it mattered enough to hold on to. This is a tragedy of Genesis 3. Not that the enemy was powerful, that the ones who had authority handed it over through distraction, deception, and passive agreement to a lie. We live in a moment saturated with distraction, and I don't mean that casually. I mean it strategically, because the one thing that would change everything is the same thing that is being consistently undermined. Knowing what you have in Christ, being saturated with His Word, understanding that you, the redeemed, carry authority that principalities and powers of darkness are subjected to. That your words carry weight because you are made in the image of the one who spoke, and it was. That the Spirit who raised Christ from the dead is not sitting dormant in you. He is alive in you, available, present, active. Romans 8, verse 10 to 12 reads, "But if Christ is in you, though the body is dead because of sin, the Spirit is life because of righteousness. And if the Spirit of Him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, He who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through His Spirit who dwells in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh." Not to the flesh. We have an obligation, and it is not to the world's patterns, the world's fears, the world's assessment of what is and isn't possible. The obligation is to live according to what is actually true. I want to say something plainly because I think it needs to be said plainly. Righteousness is not something you earn. Christ settled that. It is something you received. At the moment you believed, it was credited to you. That is the gospel. That is the whole point of redemption. You were bought back, restored, given back everything the enemy ever convinced a human being to hand over. But receiving righteousness and living righteously are not the same thing. And the gap between the two, the space where a person knows what they have in Christ but doesn't actually live from it, that gap is where the enemy operates most effectively. He doesn't need to take anything from you. He can't. He just needs you to forget you have it. A believer who doesn't know their authority is no threat. A believer who knows it and does nothing with it is a tragedy. A believer who receives the fullness of what Christ purchased and then hands it back through complacency, through nominal Christianity, through the "so long as I make it to heaven" posture, is repeating Genesis 3. Different garden, same deception, same fruit in the wrong hands. Why repeat it? When you look at yourself through your eyes, your limitations, your history, your frailty, your failures, That is all you will ever see. And that is exactly where the enemy wants your attention. Because as long as you are looking at yourself, you are not looking at Christ. And in Christ, you have no limits, no fear, no doubt, no defeat. In Him, you are already victorious. In Him, the mountain moves when you speak to it, not because of your eloquence or your faith level or your performance, but because of whose image you bear and whose spirit lives in you. If He spoke and it was, why not you, who is of incorruptible seed because of the glorious work Christ has done? Why not you? The enemy will not be grateful for what you hand him. He will not steward it carefully. He will use it against you and against everyone your authority was meant to protect. Don't give it to him, not through fear, not through distraction, not through the quiet, comfortable assumption that someone else will carry what was given specifically to you. This is not a guilt trip. The Father is not standing over you with a scoreboard. He is not tallying your failures or measuring your output against some impossible standard. That is not who He is, and that is not what this is. But He did go to extraordinary lengths to get you back, to restore what was lost, to return to you everything the enemy stole through that first deception. And the invitation, the real one, the costly one, is to actually live in it, to pick up what was handed to you, to hold on to the fruit, to know what you have, and refuse to let deception, distraction, or passivity talk you out of it again. Christ is your rest. He is also your authority. He is also your victory. All of it already yours. Don't repeat Genesis. Genesis 1:26-28. Then God said, "Let us make man in our own image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in His image. In the image of God He created him, male and female. He created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion." Second Corinthians 11:3. But I fear lest somehow, as the serpent deceived Eve by his craftiness, so your minds may be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ. Romans 8:10-12. But if Christ is in you, though your body is dead because of sin, the Spirit is life because of righteousness. And if the Spirit of Him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, He who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through His Spirit who dwells in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. I'm preaching this to myself as much as anyone. The distraction is real. The passive drift is real. The quiet assumption that someone else will carry what was given to me. I know that feeling from the inside. But Christ didn't go through what He went through so that we could hand it back. The fruit is yours. The authority is yours. The victory is already settled. Pick it up. Hold on to it. Live from it. Do not repeat Genesis. Until next week, stay blessed and stay kept.